Hey everyone, it's Mare from SickMom, just checking in for day 22. And, you know, the more I do this, the more I'm realizing that this is kind of fun. I have not yet been trolled. My channel is very new at this point, so I haven't had any trolls show up and try and talk to me about, how eating meat is evil and that sort of talk. But I, have definitely taken notes from other people who've been in the carnivore world for a decade or longer, and that they do get those comments. And depending on how vocal they are on social media, there are some people that will take it back to social media to air out the trolls' comments and then respond to them. So I am really hoping as this goes on that people will consider the fact that, we're all unique, we're all individuals, and we have to do what's right for our own bodies. And, having being friends with some really long-time vegetarians and vegans that are thriving and doing wonderfully and having their support has been awesome. And, the people who are vegetarian in my life that know that I'm doing carnivore have not said anything, not one word. Partially because they're quite close to me and they do understand that I have done so many different things to try and resolve the health issues that can be resolved and to try and get better control of my pain and my inflammation. And, so that's a really important part of this process, is having the support that I need. And even just, having coffee with a friend of mine tonight and explaining to her what it was like, to just get started and what do you eat on a daily basis, and, do you need to look for recipes? And I kind of started to laugh because I realized how much fun I'm having eating meat. And that might be really awful for some. And I'm an animal lover. I love cows. I love cows. I think that they are adorable. I love baby cows. I love just animals in general. But I also have the outlook that, there's an ecosystem, there's a cycle of life, there's, order of the food chain, that kind of thing. And that, if animals are part of your diet, that just being really thankful and grateful that we have access to that is where I'm coming from. I don't live in an impoverished nation. I don't live in an area that has severe drought and that they can barely grow their own food, never mind try and raise livestock. So I do appreciate fully that I live in the heart of Alberta beef country, and that this is probably one of the best places to be right now. But I would invite anyone who is considering, perhaps taking the opposing perspective, and instead of just kind of jumping on the people that are out there that are living like this and that are feeling good and being healthy doing this, that perhaps you might want to dig a little bit deeper into the reasons why people are choosing this lifestyle. And there's a lot of science to support it. There's a lot of biochemical evidence that supports the carnivore way of eating. But I also acknowledge it's not going to be for everybody. Some people have a horrible time digesting meat. I know people that are very allergic to different kinds of meats. So this is not something that would be for them. They probably would have a really, really hard time, especially if they can't eat beef. So, this isn't a one size fits all solution. Nothing ever is. I've listened to a lot of people over the years that have tried different things to try and help their health, and some gave me marginal successes, others were wholly unsuccessful. And this one so far I have probably the least number of complaints, if I can put it that way, because, adaptation is what it is. My body is learning how to produce the enzymes and all of the factors that are required to become a fat burning machine as opposed to a carbohydrate burning machine. And I've always believed that having, enough protein in your diet, those are the building blocks. That is really, really important. But now with further understanding of what ketosis can do and how it can positively benefit somebody's health, my opinions have also changed over the years. I was studying nutrition in college when Atkins was all the rage. Atkins diet, was one of those first that came out with no carb or low carb. And there were people who were having really quick successes as far as weight loss goes. But it was short lived because once they started reintroducing different kinds of foods, either their cravings came back or they didn't find they had as good an appetite control. And I'm starting to learn the reasons why. So, one of the things I've been doing along my journey here, I've created a public playlist for everyone in case you do want to dive into some of the research or interviews that have been done with people who are longtime carnivores. There are medical doctors, there are surgeons, there are people who are coming from a bioscience background who are talking about the science. They're not making these things up, and it's pretty tough to argue with actual scientific research. This isn't just anecdotal information that is kind of helping to propel me down this way of life. It is a lot based in science because I need to know the science. For me, I'm curious. I'm a bit of a nerd that way. I enjoy reading documents on different metabolic processes, and a fabulous resource is actually Khan Academy, KHAN. There's an app. I believe it's also just online if you want to check out their website, but it's very similar to like Coursera and Udemy that have free courses available, and Khan is no exception. And they do have, instead of registering for a course, you have stuff that's available on demand all the time. And there are some really great resources about metabolic processes. And if you're into that sort of thing, I really am into the science. So that's something that's important to me. And I hope that maybe it'll be something that you, if you're curious about, you can go check it out. Otherwise, the videos and the interviews that I keep adding to that playlist, and I called it #Carnivore Resources, so that, people are looking for different bits of research or different stories. And, maybe you're trying to understand how this can possibly work when it is so contrary to everything that people have been taught about nutrition for at least the last 50 years. Very least 50 years, if not more than that. So I'm not trying to change the world all by myself. I'm trying to change myself so that my world is a bit better. So just bear that in mind. Back to the fun aspect of it. Talking to people about, I got my cappuccino with heavy whipped cream instead of milk. And when I reheat my food, sometimes I add butter to it. So there's nothing better than like a butter basted steak bits platter or plate that I put in front of myself, and playing around with different textures. So, and chaffles just make me giggle because they're so good, and it's so easy. So I have to have fun kind of with everything that I'm doing. I can do, like everybody else, I can do stuff if it's not fun, and especially if it's related to my health. I can power through that. But enjoying the process as you're going through it is so much better. It's just fun to be enjoying my eating and not stressing out about it. And realizing also that when I'm trying to eat according to, let's say, the food intolerances that I've been diagnosed with, that always felt so, it felt so hard. It felt so challenging. I felt like, I constantly had to warn my family, okay, I'm going back to the list of stuff that I'm not intolerant to. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that I can't eat. And, people are just like, well, what can you eat? And there's an extensive list of stuff that I'm not intolerant to, but trying to cook it or prepare it in a way that tastes good, most people want to go with what they know. They want to add steak spice to meat. They want to add sauces. They want to do all kinds of stuff. Being carnivore is just so much easier than that. It's like, okay, awesome. Having hamburgers, right on. If people are making them from scratch, you know what? Can you just, like, if I'm coming over for dinner and my sister is making burgers and she usually puts breadcrumbs in them, we just had that conversation. I was like, honey, don't worry. I know you put breadcrumbs in your burgers. I bring my own food over here. You don't necessarily have to put something aside. Although she has always been so wonderfully accommodating, and very kind with me in that respect, that, my sister and I visit quite frequently, and so do our kids. So there's a lot of shared meals. And this time it's just easy. It's like, did it come from an animal? Was it an animal? We're good. So I hope that whatever it is that you are going through in your life, that you do have some supportive people that are around you that are not just sitting there trying to pick away at what you're doing and undermine it, but that they are trying to understand from a genuine place of being helpful, as opposed to trying to convince you of something else. So when it comes to the convincers, I am sure at some point I will run across the convincers. I know I will. With everything else that I have tried, whether it was just, elimination diets or the 4-day rotation or being on a therapeutic diet that was mostly liquid, there's always someone who over time has come to me and it's like, well, have you tried this instead? Why don't you try that? And I'm going, I really appreciate the suggestions. Yes, we have tried that, or no, we haven't. And having to explain or justify is something I've always felt that I needed to do in the past. And I've let that go over time. There's some people that I genuinely want to share the knowledge with. I want to share what I know so that we're coming from the same place when we're communicating. But explaining and justifying what I'm going to do, I don't feel the need to do that anymore. It's my life. Nobody else is living inside my skin, and no one else knows what I have to deal with on a daily basis with the onslaught of illnesses that I have. So when you run across the convincers, whether it's in your personal life or in your relationships, or if it's in business, and people are genuinely, they're not interested in seeing your point of view at all. And you can tell, because usually it's like, that's great, but there's this and this and this and this, trying to shoot down everything. That's okay. Just let them go. Let them talk it out. Let them say what they have to say, and then just thank them for caring. Beyond that, if they keep trying to force the issue, I think you need to start evaluating what that friendship or what that relationship is like, if they're not respecting your individual journey. And I have said this before, I have worked really hard over the years to surround myself with amazing people. And these are not just yes people. These are not people that whatever it is that I say is, oh my God, that's great, it's wonderful. These are people that we can have conversations about things that are difficult. And it's good to have people show an opposing point of view so that you can think about things. But when someone's trying to convince you that what you're doing is wrong, without having done any research, educated themselves, or having walked a mile in your shoes, that starts to be something that I kind of, I don't know. I just don't necessarily think that those people are friends. And I have friends that have very strong opinions. And yeah, sometimes the discussions get a little bit heated. And there's nothing wrong with that because we're not it's not like a personal attack. So, and I have seen a lot of that. I mean, when you're as sick as long as I have been and with as many different conditions that some people know about, some people don't, when you do hit on a subject that they know something about, I find it's helpful when people make suggestions and say, I knew someone who also had this and they had tried a bunch of things, but they did try this. Have you tried that? Good question. Have I tried it? And I can then go from there. But it's the pushing and the not willing to concede that their point of view doesn't necessarily coincide with what will work for you as an individual. I hope this makes sense to you, but it's about protecting your mindset when you're going through a transition and being prepared for adversity, being prepared for objections, being prepared for people who are just not going to get it is something that I strongly advise anyone when they're undertaking a major change in their life, whether that's a relationship or diet or exercise habits, what have you. If we could all come to a point where we're respecting each other's journey and that we can learn from that without having things forced down our throats, I think we'd be in a much better spot. And I am not trying to shove carnivore down anyone's throat. I just want to share my journey. I just want to have people understanding that, it's a gradual process. It's going to take time. And I'm not expecting overnight results. And that perhaps the patience that I have can also help other people that might be feeling stuck in other parts of their life. That if you just kind of breathe through it and you take the time to let things unfold, like I don't have a choice but to let things unfold. Other than eating carnivore, there's not much else that I can do beyond that to control what's happening. I'm trying to I'm trying to heal my body through diet. And that's not an easy thing to do. And it's taken me how many years to get to this point? It's going to take probably years before I can get to a point where I can say, okay, so perhaps I've gone into remission with my psoriatic arthritis. These are all things I would love. My fibromyalgia has gone into remission. My Ehlers-Danlos isn't bothering me as much. That's the place I'm hoping to get to. That's the goal that I have. And there's not a whole lot that could detract me from that goal because I have solidified my mindset knowing that this is on me to do this and it's not anybody else who's living my journey. So you people just keep on living your journeys and listen to that intuition and do what feels right for you and for your body. So if you've liked today's video, a little bit more chit chat, but I really hope that you guys are gaining something from this, but just please give us a big thumbs up, give us a like down below, and subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you know exactly when the next video is landing on YouTube. And for today, this is SickMom with a big smile on her face, having fun and checking out for today.